What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out, WiseTake.com. We've got day passes available for $2.50 if you want to give it a shot. And that includes our flagship show, which is our pre-lock show, the Wise Stream, which we do 45 minutes prior to lock, up to lock, myself and Paulie D, Monday through Friday, making sure the nation is kept up to date as much as possible with news and getting the latest and greatest on info. That being said, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free DFS content we put out. We put out a ton of free content. And hit the like button. Share the show. The shares go a really long way. We're really trying to make a campaign here with the shares. I don't care how many followers you got on Twitter. I don't care. Anything you guys could do is much appreciated. So please share the show and hit the like button. Leave some comments. The comments I've been enjoying. I've been trying to interact with some of you guys. I know I used to do this show live. I don't do it live anymore for the sake of time. But please leave your comments. I still enjoy reading the comments. I still enjoy interacting, whether it's positive or negative criticism, whether it's just your thoughts on the slates. I just want to hear it. So some comments. All right. 6 games on a Monday. We got a little bit of a later lock time. Looks like 8 p.m., which is cool with me. It gives a little bit extra. Anytime you get a little bit extra time, it's a good thing. Starting things off, we got Chicago and Houston. We will go address the injury news first. Let's just pull this up here. So we know that Christian Wood is still out. Victor Oladipo is listed as questionable, game time decision, depending on the site you're looking at. He's doubtful. So we're going to go as if he is ruled out. Now, keep in mind that his price is really low on both sides. So if he were to be back, he'd be interesting barring any kind of minute restriction, but he's not in. It doesn't matter. So John Wall's usage should be phenomenal. He's 8K on DraftKings, 8.5 on FanDuel. I'm fine with him for tournaments, not necessarily at a price where I think we have to go crazy, but definitely with the type of usage we have. Now, here's the other thing about Chicago. Chicago's playing at a pretty fast pace right now, especially lately. They've been really pushing the pace, been involved in a lot of high-scoring games, so we should keep that in mind. Our projections obviously incorporate pace as a part of the formula, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Wall projecting a little bit better, even though he's expensive. They're going to project great. He's 8.5 and 8K. But I expect to see him a little bit better. Levine's a good tournament play as usual. It's going to come down to the position, especially on FanDuel. The shooting guard position is kind of weak. And the thing is, we don't have a ton of super strong value that I saw, or at least initially when I pulled it up. So I'm curious to see what happens to the ownership on guys like Levine, especially when you got Brad Beal so close in that area. But he's a good tournament play, no doubt. Jason Tate has looked good. He really has. He's looked good. Looks like he's slowly putting it together. Obviously, his floor is lower than we're comfortable with, and the price is elevated. We're waiting to hear the status on DeMarcus Cousins and whether or not he will play. They've already announced that he's not a part of their plans, and I could have sworn I saw something that said they weren't going to play him anymore. Could have sworn I saw that. But next thing you know, they're talking about how they have their intention to trade him, but they think he'll still be available to play as the team evaluates his options. So he's genuinely questionable with an injury, so we'll keep an eye out for that. This is a smash spot for any center. Well, if a real center. The problem is if he doesn't play, they don't really have a real center. They're playing like PJ Tucker at the 5, which is just a waste. But if he's in play. 6'4" on both sides. But you're also taking that risk, right? Like we kind of, I hopped off a little bit against Washington. He burned me. New York, he burned me. All these good spots, he burned me. And then, he played an Embiid. I guess maybe that's why I got 36 minutes out of nowhere. It's just crazy. I like Kobe White in tournaments. He's 5'7" on FanDuel, 6'2" on DraftKings. But 5'7" on FanDuel, I think is still within our reach. I'm not against that. Wendell Carter played 33 minutes against the Kings. That was good to see, and that was a back-to-back. So it was good to see him get those minutes. He's only 5,300. If Boogie's in there, it's kind of a tough situation, right, size-wise. But if Boogie's out, again, this team is going to be really small. So someone to keep in mind. Probably more of a DraftKings thing. Though center is not super loaded. It's not a monstrous slate anyway. But Eric Gordon looks like one of the best plays on the slate on FanDuel. Now, he's 6'3" on DraftKings. A little bit different conversation. He's 5'3" on FanDuel with no depot. Excuse me. With no depot, we expect him to start, and we expect his usage to be high, his minutes to be high. We just talked about how Chicago is pacing teams up a bit. And Boogie's questionable, so Boogie misses, that's even more usage for him. So he's looking pretty solid on FanDuel. Again, on DraftKings, you can make some arguments. I think you need kind of Boogie to be out to really go heavy. But I guess we're looking at things game by game. We have to look at things in context of the slate as a whole. So I do think Gordon's a good play regardless. Patrick Williams, Temple, House, these are all value plays that we can consider. Like I said, we don't have a ton of strong value. If Boogie is out, we can probably rely on some of the Houston guys a little bit more. Maybe like House. But on the Chicago side, Garrett Temple's been pretty solid. Garrett Temple's been playing big minutes, and he's been pretty solid for the most part. So I would assume he's going to end up being pretty popular. He's 4.6 on FanDuel, 4.8 on DraftKings. And we'll have to see. Like I said, this tournament plays all around at this point. We will go to Memphis and Dallas. So we expect this game to be fast as well. Luka's in a phenomenal spot. Point guards against Memphis is awesome, but he's extremely expensive. And the question with Memphis anytime is, can they hang around? And they do have some tools, right? Jonas Valanciunas is probably in the best spot. Dallas' defense has been horrendous, but bigs have just done whatever they wanted. So if you're playing Luka, I would imagine that you're trying to bring it back with somebody from your Memphis for the sake of, I need this game to stay close because Luka's so damn expensive. The other route, Porzingis is 8.5 on DraftKings, only 7.8 on FanDuel, so I think he's a much better play on FanDuel. We talked about Joval, who I think is a really good play on both sides, especially on a slate that's not really deep at center. Kyle Anderson is 6.6 on DraftKings, 7.2 on FanDuel. I do prefer him over on DraftKings at 6.6, but I'll admit he's played pretty well, right? He's taken advantage of some of the injuries. Though I do think that Brandon Clark's presence is going to hurt Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson was playing a lot of 4, and I know that Brandon Clark sat out the last game because of the back-to-back, but he had started at the 4 against Detroit, and that's really going to change the dynamic. I actually think he's a pretty interesting option if he could stay out of foul trouble when he gets matched up against Porzingis, but I do expect him to start and be on Porzingis or Maxey or one of those guys. I just don't see, I don't know if I see Joval doing it. We'll have to see. Dillon Brooks, Dillon Brooks is going to be out again on Monday, third straight game. It's a boost for Ja Morant, who's priced pretty well, I think, especially for the spot. 7.5 on DraftKings, only 7.2 on FanDuel, a little bit better there. But because of the absence, we can see Grayson Allen picking up some minutes. He's only 4.7. He's 5.2 on DraftKings, so DraftKings kind of with it. But again, just a slew of tournament plays. I actually don't even mind Anthony Melton. He's probably my favorite at this point with Clark out. He only got 17 minutes against Detroit, did get 26 against Phoenix, so that game was a blowout. But I think he's got, again, 17 minutes. You could see what he does. The issue is, are we going to be able to, depending on how deep point guard is, are we going to be able to sacrifice point guard to go with a player that has a lower ceiling? And the reason his ceiling is lower is simply because he doesn't get those 30-something, minutes a game. But something to keep in mind. For sure. Desmond Baines, another one. We expect him to start. Against Detroit, he didn't have a terrible game, but he did against Phoenix. And I think that was part of the back-to-back. I don't know. Make excuses. He only played 25 minutes in 23. He didn't play a ton before that, so maybe I'm making excuses. But 3,700 is real cheap. We don't have a lot of value. So, again, is shooting guard eligible on this on FanDuel? Where is he over here? He's 3,900, small forward shooting guard on DraftKings, so it depends on where you can fit him. But there are some studs that I'm going to want on this slate that I know. But this is including Luka Doncic. Miami OKC, back-to-back for OKC. Jimmy Buckets has been awesome. He's earned that price tag. I think it's a really good BAM spot. We just saw what Jared Allen did against OKC with Horford down low. And we'll see if Horford even plays, to be honest. On back-to-backs, he's resting, so wouldn't be surprised if he were to get ruled out, which would boost Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's ownership and usage. SGA is 8,400 on DraftKings, only 75 on FanDuel, so I do expect him to be popular, especially after he went for 50 the night before. But I do like Bam a lot. Bam's $100 cheaper on DraftKings. It's easier to roster him, though, on FanDuel because he's power forward, which has always been a thing. So really like Bam on FanDuel. We'll check, like I said, we'll check status of Horford. None is coming off of a ceiling game. You don't see that every day. I'll continue to work in some Diallo where he's cheap, and he's cheap on both sites. But we have to be cautious because his minutes are just so unpredictable. But I'll work him in for tournaments because I think when he's priced here, he's like always kind of a threat to go for that 6x we're looking for. Again, the issue has been ceiling, right? We kind of need an injury to really feel like he has a ceiling. If Horford were to sit, we would go ahead and feel comfortable getting some exposure to Roby, who is 4,600 at power forward on FanDuel and 4,900 on DraftKings. Obviously, on FanDuel, he comes in handy, and he would provide some much-needed value, no doubt. Duncan Robinson has finally been playing a little bit better. He's 5-2 on DraftKings. They got with it quick, but on FanDuel, still only 4,500. Again, on a slate, we don't have a ton of value, so could be interested there. Olynyk on a slate that's not deep is in play. Muscala, I guess you can consider as a deep option if you're concerned. If Horford were to get ruled out, then you're concerned about foul trouble for Roby. But in reality, I think we've already talked about the main guys. But this could be an interesting game to at least get some value, or maybe even just get some guys that are looking at usage increases at their prices. And I like Bam a lot. I do like Bam a lot, especially on FanDuel. Portland and Phoenix. So obviously at the WiseTake Nation, we love Damian Lillard. And as much as I do love Damian Lillard, I don't love this spot for him. Phoenix has played a little bit slower. Right, their defense has improved dramatically, and they're a good team. And we have other studs I think I want the money for. We talked about Luka Doncic, who is not that far off from Dame in terms of price, and I think Luka's matchup is way softer. On the flip side, Memphis is not a good team. You got the blowout concern. This Portland-Phoenix game you expect to be competitive. So I'm fine with Dame. I wouldn't talk anybody off, but his prices have been elevated on both sides to where I think I'm either going up to Luka or I'm going to try to save some money or spend the money elsewhere. Devin Booker on FanDuel I'm okay with. I like Chris Paul on both sides. I mean, Chris Paul's been awesome. He's been awesome. Against Memphis, he looked like he was going to do some damage again, but then the game got ugly, right? It's just kind of got out of hand, didn't have to do so much. That was against Memphis, which is my concern, though it was a back-to-back for Memphis and a tough schedule part for them. It was for Phoenix too, though. So I like Chris Paul a little bit for tournaments. Robert Covington's been awesome, grabbing rebounds. He's been taking shots, but it's really been his blocks and steals. 6 blocks against OKC, 4 blocks and 2 steals against New Orleans, 4 blocks, 2 steals. So my issue here in this game is that I don't think Phoenix plays as sloppy because they're not as fast. Teams that play fast typically get sloppy. I think I would much prefer to play Enes Kanter at 6'9", though he is center, which is annoying. But 6'9" over here. He's 7K on DraftKings. Phoenix not good against bigs. They struggle. Right? Ayton not good defensively. So I'm good with getting some exposure to Kanter for sure from this game. That being said, I don't mind Ayton at all. You know, a little more inconsistent. We look for the right matchup because Chris Paul and Booker, I mean, you got to get through those dudes to get this guy a shot. But Kanter also. Not a very good defender, just a big friggin' dude. Then we got Mikael Bridges and Gary Trent. I don't really mind them either. Bridges seems to somehow put it together, even though his usage rates continue to look low. And the same thing with Gary Trent. They're very similar players. They do a lot of standing around, but they kind of just show up when needed. And they've proven to be decent fantasy options when cheap. And I think they're both in that range. I don't mind Derrick Jones Jr. either. He's playing over 30 minutes in 4 straight games. Again, not a high usage player, but you know the deal. I actually do like Jay Crowder. And remember, the Phoenix side is the side we're going to like a little bit more. They're the ones getting the pace boost here. So I'm cool with getting some exposure to Crowder, who when he has played in competitive games for the most part, since coming back from his injury, he's been solid. Again, Memphis just wasn't really, he didn't have to play much, right? So some decent options there, but not maybe who I think most people would think. Maybe it is. Charlotte and Utah. So Utah has been awesome. They've been blowing everybody out. Charlotte barely beat Golden State after 5 days off. Charlotte had 5 days off. Golden State was on a 4-6, a back-to-back, and they didn't have Steph Curry. And they barely held on to win. Makes me a little bit nervous when you consider them going into Utah to play one of the top teams in the league. Probably right now the team with the best record in the league, I think. In Utah, where you got altitude and all these things working against you. Mitchell is obviously fine. Really good spot for Gobert. I don't like his FanDuel price a ton, but I will get some exposure. I do like his DraftKings price better at 7.4. Rozier's been awesome. I think Graham is doubtful, right? I'm going to check the DraftKings note here. Yeah, he's doubtful. So Terry Rozier's been awesome. Literally in like every game without this dude lately. I mean, since Memphis, which was 4 games back, 44, 52, 52, 46. He's been awesome. And I'm cool with it, but again, I'm a little nervous about the altitude, all that. Now, FanDuel is where the Charlotte team is a whole lot cheaper. We're really the guards, LaMelo and Rozier. Gordon Hayward in a revenge spot. I actually do like Gordon Hayward. He let me down big against Golden State. Got outplayed by Oubre pretty badly. Oubre is chalk. But I actually do like Gordon Hayward in this spot, but I need the game to be competitive because if it is, then I expect Hayward to get big minutes. If it's not, I get nervous. LaMelo Ball is the biggest question. He's coming off of a horrific game. He was terrible. Forget about 31 minutes. He got 31 minutes because he sucked. He was terrible. And he got foul trouble in the first half. He's 7.6 on FanDuel. It's really cheap for the upside he's shown. The question is, if this game gets ugly, do they keep LaMelo Ball on the court? Because before he became the starter, and even with Graham here, even when Graham has been healthy, they've decided to stick with Ball as a starter and just kind of start all 3 guards. The question is, if this game gets ugly, does he still get that time out there? Because he was the one getting blowout run. That was when he would really smash. When his team was getting destroyed, he'd get some extra run and he'd go put some massive upside up. Now he's the starter. Are they still going to treat him that way, being that he's a rookie? If so, it's fucking on FanDuel. It's almost a lock, right? I don't want to ever say lock on FanDuel. It's just too crowded of positions, right? But it's definitely a solid play. And on DraftKings, he'll be slow on because of his price. So these are the things you have to ask yourself with LaMelo. I want to hear from you. Do you think he plays in the blowout? Maybe it's already happened and he hasn't. Maybe it happened and he hasn't. Since he's been the starter, has he played in a blowout? Do you think he's going to play in the blowout? Because that's pretty big. I'll continue to take shots on Jordan Clarkson on FanDuel. Not at the massive exposures I was playing him before, but I'll continue to take some shots. Especially if we hear that Conley's on any kind of minute limitation. Speaking of Conley, he's 5.6 on FanDuel. I think that's way too cheap. Even if he's on some kind of minute restriction, I'd still be willing to get some shares. He did play 25 minutes in his first game, and that was against the Clippers. Cody Zeller is really cheap, but his minutes have kind of reflected that. Royce O'Neal's been good, but it's really been when Conley's out. Malik Monk, 4,300, and on FanDuel, 47 on DraftKings. He disappointed me. I thought he would get more run, especially once LaMelo Ball got into foul trouble, but it just wasn't what happened. And then he just didn't shoot well. So he's a hit-or-miss type player. I think in the blowout, he would definitely play. So if that's the route you're going that way, just something to consider. Washington Lakers, last game of the night here. So this is obviously a nut spot for LeBron James. I've been playing LeBron. Flip this over here. I've been playing LeBron since AD's been out, and he's been a disaster, right? Not giving us nearly what we're looking for. But the usage rates have been massive. His team has just been shitty, and they happen to have played some really good teams, right? They played Brooklyn and Miami. 2 really good teams. So this is the opposite. It's a very fast-paced team like Brooklyn, but they're not very good. They have won 4 straight, not to take anything away. But this is like a nut spot for LeBron James. And I plan to have a lot of exposure on both sides. That's just the bottom line, if you will. The question is, what about the Washington side? I will have exposure to Beal, but let's see, it's the opposite situation. Washington, I think I like Westbrook a little bit better. Now, again, I'll have some Beal. And I don't like the fact that they raised Westbrook's price to 10-1 on DraftKings. That's fucking annoying. But Westbrook's minutes have been sky high. 39 against Denver, 37 against Portland. And he's played really well with those minutes, going back to his triple-double self. And the Lakers have been terrible against point guards. Kendrick Nunn just lit these dudes up. Think about that. Kendrick Nunn lit these dudes up. I would think that KCP and some of the best defenders are going to be on Bradley Beal. Not to say I think they'll stop Bradley Beal. I like Bradley Beal as well. But I do think I lean Westbrook, at least on FanDuel. Now, Westbrook's always a better play on DraftKings because of the bonuses for triple-doubles and all that. But he's cheaper on FanDuel. He's cheaper than Beal on FanDuel. 9.4 is too cheap. So I do like Westbrook. But again, I love LeBron. On a slate that's fairly weak at center, getting some exposure to Montrezl's fine against Washington. You just have no idea how many minutes he's going to play. And I like Kyle Kuzma. We know Schroeder's still out. Kuzma's getting 34 minutes in 2 straight games. He hasn't done a whole lot peripherally against Brooklyn, which I would the equivalent of the rebounding style, etc., pace of Washington similar to Brooklyn. He had 9 rebounds. So if he would have put it together with a shot, he would have had a big game. I think Kuzma has a big game. Now in DraftKings at 6-7, that's steep. It is steep, right? But he hasn't been that far off. Like, it kind of, I guess, but he took 21 shots against Miami, right? 11 threes. So I do like him on both sides, but it's a lot easier to pull that trigger on DraftKings at 5-7, no doubt. Bertans is fine for tournaments. It's not bad, but I'm looking at Kuzma and LeBron, and obviously Westbrook and Beal, but I do think I like Mr. Russell Westbrook. That's going to do it, Nation, for this edition of the Early Look. Appreciate y'all that hang out with me. Leave me in the comments some thoughts. Again, I like hearing back from you guys. Share the show if you can. Please hit the like button on your way out. And make sure you're subscribed. Hopefully I catch you guys at WiseTake.com. Hopefully I catch you in our Slack chat, which is for monthly members or higher. Trying to get that thing going again. Hopefully I catch you on our pre-lock live stream, the Wise stream, which is available with day passes or more. Whatever. But anyway, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.